Alrighty, so in today's video breakdown, I want to thoroughly go over my XRP trade, my day trade that resulted in around $6,000 in profit. I still have an active P&L. I left about $800 on the table running. You guys can see here my entry price was at $1.40 and about 838 cents. I just wanted to show you guys that there was an actual entry here. And I want to break this down for you all in detail, entering in at the exact bottom of the move. And because there's been a couple of new community members that have entered into the Discord, I want to show you guys how using just the information in the Discord, put the CYPRX advanced course aside and put the order flow course aside, literally just using all the information that's inside the Discord that myself and Scalper put out to you guys was enough to catch this trade, which is why it's so important to be part of a powerful Discord community like this if you're actively paying attention to all the info. So I'm going to show you guys where to find that info, how it was all kind of conjured over the week to show you guys how I caught this move, all the confluences that aligned for this position, and break that down for you guys in today's particular video breakdown. All right. So with that being said, starting off, all right, so just to come down here, this was the original position. I had taken some profit off the table at $1.44. This was the position. So there's still about $800 running on the trade. I'm going to try to hold this up until either now it stops me out at break even at my entry at about $1.40, or it runs up into $1.50 is my next take profit. And that'll be an additional about $2,000 from where we're trading at, which will result in about a overall $8,000 to $9,000 gain on this position on XRP. Okay. So how did I catch this move? Using the information in the Discord. For anybody that's new, I'm just going to show you guys that in detail. We're going to start off with technical analysis. We're then going to go in to show you guys the fundamental aspect, talking about how we caught these things and paid attention to them starting at the beginning of the week. So before we even get into the TA and the fundamentals, something that I always preach here at CyPRX is psychology. So many people come into this space wanting to make money, but they don't want to learn how to make money. That is very important. All right. So many people want to come into crypto to make money, but they don't want to actually learn how to make money. Learning how to make money requires patience. It requires discipline. It requires a complete restructuring of your psychological infrastructure, right? However you thought about money, however you thought finance was going to just flow into your pockets when you started trading or you started investing. I'm sure now that especially some of you guys that are actively starting to participate in day trading have had a complete revamp of your approach mentally to, how long it actually takes to make money successfully in these markets. All right. So patience was key in this trade, waiting for the right confluences to play out and not forcing any trades before, and really sticking to our plan, right? You guys know that I only trade New York session. So this trade played out during New York session. It took literally all week to materialize. And I want to show you guys that step by step. So coming up here to the XRP analysis section in the monthly Discord membership area, starting off with some information that Scalper and myself put out just to show you guys again that we communicate these things to you all in advance utilizing our order flow tools. So if we come up here to some screenshots of the order flow tools that Scalper had put out looking at the dates, starting off Sunday, February 15th, 2026 at 6:45 a.m. Scalper said here in this picture, this area of support is of key importance. And you can see his highlighted prices are from $1.42 to $1.40. All right. So I went on and marked those areas of interest on my charts. And here you can see he also mentioned price staying above this buy wall is bullish overall. Okay. So that was the first hint at the beginning of the week that we could possibly see a bullish move, right? We have institutional tools that show us that this is an area of interest that we should be mindful of, where if buyers can defend at where they previously bought from, aggressively breaking above sellers, then we're likely to see another net bullish reaction from this area of interest. The second little tiny tip that I gave you guys is when we come down here and I gave out my XRP analysis on February 18th at 7:23 a.m. And I specifically said XRP price above $1.40 to $1.42 leaves buy scalp opportunities on the table to take price back up to $1.52 to $1.67. All right. So I'm just trying to show you guys step by step how using all the info in the Discord that we give you guys, from our callouts to our screenshots to our TA breakdowns to the fundamentals, you guys can use this info to your advantage if you're paying attention. Now, it is pretty fast paced. Myself and Scalper combined have over 20 years of experience in this market. So I get 110% that it is a little fast paced, but nonetheless, it is accurate information. No hype, no bullcrap, no misinformation, just straight good TA and good fundamentals. All right. So now in terms of the educational material, all right, looking at the setup, going over, look at this. Now my XRP alarms are going off. Okay, so looking at the setup, starting on the 15-minute, I want you guys to pay attention to the structure. We have, obviously, of course, this gray box here. Okay, so first I'm going to take you through a little bit of how and where to find some of the technical analysis information in the Discord. We're going to go over the fundamentals, and then I'll come back and I'll break down the trade in detail. All right, so this is the 15-minute time frame, and you can see I have this terminology on here: pressure point and point A. You also will notice I have $1.40 marked off as a key area of interest. And then you see this gray box. And if I click on the gray box and I go to the coordinates, you'll notice that the coordinates are $1.42 and $1.40, which were the same coordinates that Scalper had said to pay attention to all the way back on February 15th. As of time of recording, it is now 6 days behind that date, February 21st. And this move just happened yesterday on February 20th. So we called this move out 5 days in advance. All right. Now, this pressure point and point A, look at this XRP price action real quick. If you come over here into the Discord, remember I told you guys, if you come up here into the Delta Education section in the monthly access area, and you come up here to the search section and you use this Discord as a Google search, and you put from institutional scalper and from myself, and then you put in the Delta Education PDF section and you put has or includes a PDF or includes an infograph, then you will get all of the infographics that pop up that myself and Scalper have ever created to teach you guys how to pay attention to price action. And I want to bring this very interesting picture up to your attention. Okay, so check this out. All right, this is an aggressive entry using scalp deltas, and you guys can see the gray area here. And what do we notice? We see a huge dip beneath lows, creating a pressure point, then coming back and breaking previous bearish structure, staying above a moving average. In this case, this is Scalper's VWAP, but it works similar to the moving averages, which creates a point A, and then results in bullish price action, higher highs and higher lows. All right, this is on the 15-minute time frame, and this is using Bitcoin's price action. Well, if we come over here to XRP's current price action, it's the same exact TA. Here's the pressure point, here's the break that broke back above the triple moving average, i.e. the same thing in the picture, the VWAP. That creates the point A, which results in a new high in the market that breaks all previous bearish structure. And then we see price start to make higher highs and higher lows, right? So this is just a setup in the CYPRX Discord that you guys can go and learn about just by reading thoroughly through these PDFs, back testing them, and then in the real market or on a demo account, actually applying some of the information that you're learning. So that was number one. This is just a little PDF that we created that is now mirroring price action. And you guys can see that this was given to you guys over 2 years ago, back in 2024, and it's still prevalent to this day. All right. So that was one little tiny education piece. Now, to go even further, if you come down here, there is a PDF that particularly says, let me find it. I think it's on page 3. It says right here, all setups. You see this PDF right here, all setups given to you guys on, what is this, in 2024. All right. So you click this open. Again, this is in the Delta Education section, and it gives you all the setups that we would like to ideally see with all the confluences at and around these areas of interest or these dark pools or these deltas that our institutional tooling gives us access to. So you guys had the levels to be mindful of. We gave you guys those, as, excuse me, Scalper gave you guys those on February 15th. So 5 days in advance. He mentioned that this was a key area of interest, $1.42 to $1.40. And all that was left for us to do, collectively speaking, was to look for these setups at these particular levels. And so I want to take your guys' attention down here to this setup, trend continuation setup explained. It gives you step-by-step process on what to pay attention to, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and what to see at these levels at an area of interest. So now that you guys have seen that, we're going to break this down and I'm going to show you all how that exact pattern played out, which allowed me to catch this trade. All right. So coming back over here to the doc, let me just zoom in a little bit for you guys. Once price is at an area of interest, we're looking to see the one or a reaction, i.e. sellers making an attempt to defend at this level, pushing price back down into a discount, creating the two. That leads to a pressure point or a bullish move that breaks previous bearish structure and smoothly transitions through the area of interest, creating the three. We're not looking to enter on the impulsive move. We're waiting to enter in on a pullback. So you can see that the two becomes the base of the move, and you're waiting for a pullback down into that area to then see another structure formation that creates a lower high that is then broken, signaling that buyers are still in control, i.e. support being held, resistance being broken, and then the six, we start to see new higher lows come in afterwards, which then leads to the move. I entered in at the exact 6 focal point. So if we come over here to XRP's price, you guys can see how this played out. Here's the small pullback, or sellers trying to make an attempt to defend at this $1.40 to $1.42 gray box. They tried to make an attempt to sell here or overpower buyers. They failed. They got trapped. Buyers became aggressive enough, creating the point two to smoothly transition and push through the area of interest with bullish momentum, creating the three, breaking all previous bearish price action prior to New York session. Following that, you're not chasing the momentum move. You're waiting for a discounted entry for price to come back down into the two or the base. So sure enough, price starts to trickle its way back down, creating that four. And on its way down, it creates bearish structure. Here's a low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low formation. Here's the 5 that breaks a previous resistance, showing us that buyers are still in control at this price level. Once buyers show their hand again, you're waiting again for another slight retracement to respect the base of the 4. Sure enough, when that happened, price pulled back. There's the 6. That was my entry. I entered in. Stop loss was nice and tight beneath the 2. And simply all that was left for me to do was hold this trade. All right. So you can see literally setup for setup. This is the exact PDF and the exact setup that took place at around an institutional area of interest that was given to you guys well in advance. Just paying attention to these sound confluences and not reacting to price action until you see this setup was pretty simplistic. Now, that's not all it takes, right? Obviously, of course, there's a lot more. There's risk mitigation. There's psychology management of actually not reacting impulsively to the move. But nonetheless, okay, we had all this information in advance in this community, and I'm just trying to show you guys kind of where to find it. Now, put technical analysis aside. All right, let's show you guys how in terms of fundamentals as well, because it's not just TA that you would ideally like to see support your thesis in the market. It is also fundamentals. And so we had that as well. With that being said, I'll take you guys back to our February 17th report. For anybody that's new, to find these reports, they're always scattered throughout almost every single chat in the Discord, but they're primarily focused on the fundamental section. So if you come up into the fundamental section, hopefully you guys are reading all the updates. I'm constantly giving you guys market sentiment updates in this chat. And if we go all the way back to February 17th, you guys can see here's the February 17th report. I gave this to you guys days in advance before the move played out. And in this report, I specifically mentioned bullish scenarios that could take price higher. So paying attention to this list of scenarios, I mentioned FOMC meeting in minutes, upcoming data, positive geopolitical headlines, so on and so forth. The two primaries that I want you guys to focus on that took place this week were right here. It specifically says, let me zoom in for you all. It says positive geopolitical headlines, any Russia-Ukraine progress or easing U.S.-Iranian tensions, and then also an outcome that the market perceives as positive surrounding Trump's tariffs, right? Those were two of the bullish catalysts out of the six that I gave you guys that could possibly take the market back to the upside. I also mentioned crypto holding firmly above the $2.3 trillion dark pool would likely start to build acceptance to take price back into $2.4 trillion, signaling renewed institutional demand. And again, this was from February 17th. Now, if we fast forward to our February 20th update, this was yesterday. So why do you guys think I was taking the buy position? Not only was I seeing bullish confluences in terms of technical analysis, but the confluences in terms of fundamentals that we discussed that could possibly result in a bullish scenario days in advance also came into fruition. So you guys see how it's a stack of confluences. It's not just one thing that allows you to execute a trade. It's the discipline, it's the preparation days in advance. It's the psychology to have the patience to wait for the trade to actually materialize and come into fruition. Then it's the TA, and then compound that on top of fundamentals we can see. I mentioned to you guys yesterday positive outcomes in terms of the Iranian US tensions. You can see this little tiny announcement alone, right? It says Iran US tensions. Iranian lawmaker says US warships does not mean a war is imminent. If you guys go back into the fundamental section, I mentioned to you guys a day in advance. Let's see. I said right here, potential war is still lingering. I'm telling you all that if we see escalation, of course, it won't be good. But I have a hunch that these are just threats. If at any moment in time we see one positive headline on this front, it will allow the markets to breathe a bit of relief. And we will likely see a massive rally in crypto, right? And you guys can see I sent this to you all before I took the move on Friday, the morning of at 3:22 a.m., right? So hours before this actually broke in terms of the fundamentals, right? On top of that, we also had the court ruling. They made a decision on Trump's tariffs, which the market relatively viewed as more positive leaning in terms of market sentiment than negative leaning. And that was another factor that we discussed yesterday in our report. So these two contributing factors gave me the fundamental support to say, okay, market sentiment is likely to recover. Couple that on top of terms of technical analysis showing signs of bullish support and buyers back in control. That gave me the confidence overall to take the trade. All right. So starting with the psychology aspect of CYPRX, which obviously, of course, we cover. If you guys need to focus and improve and work on your psychology, you guys have the third eye psychology section where every single day, Break Free from the Matrix spends hundreds of hours, literally countless hours, trying to motivate you guys, give you guys positive information to help with your psychology. There's PDFs inside the CYPRX Discord in the educational section here. If you scroll all the way up to the top of this section, there's multiple PDFs that myself and Scalper have given you guys about trading psychology, how to be patient, how to not chase money and focus on the skill set building. All right. Now put all that information aside. I was trying to show you guys, right, how I used the Discord information to catch this trade. Okay. Now, personally, I'm at a point in my career where I don't really use the information in the Discord step by step to catch trades because I see everything now with my naked eye. After almost 10 years in the market, this for me was an easy CYPRX 2.0 strategy. So now outside of the Discord, if you guys wanted to take it a step further and you want to see a little bit more advanced tooling, right? My strategy, the confluences that I look for, this was an easy CYPRX 2.0 confluence strategy. So I simply look for this pattern. It's the same pattern that I used time and time again, almost every single time I take buys. I look for a sweep of a low. So you guys can see there was a pre-engineered low here at the beginning of New York session. That low was swept. Using logic, I talk about this in the CYPRX 2.0 content. So if you guys want to take a step further outside of the Discord, watch the CYPRX 2.0 content in the advanced course material. And I talk about this logic. where if sellers in this area were in control, then what would have happened? Once these buyers made an attempt to engulf these sellers, instead of creating a new high in the market like they did here, this would have acted as a resistance, and we would have seen sellers regain control and continue with the overall trend to the downside. However, that did not happen. So, what did happen? We cannot guess what's taking place. We have to react to what's happening in the moment. So, buyers, clear as day, broke above the sellers here in this area, signaling strength. Not only did they break above the sellers in this area, but afterwards they continued to show strength, and a previous resistance turned into support. And you can see buyers continued right here at $1.40 to accumulate orders. And they accumulated enough orders and momentum in the market, trapping sellers and becoming aggressive enough to break above previous sellers that existed prior to the New York session. So overall, this is a sweep of a low, breaking a previous market structure high that results in a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high formation. This is a complete shift in momentum, right? I talk about this in the CYPRX 2.0 content, and paying attention to the highs over here to the left-hand side. Here we have some equal highs. We could classify this as a break of structure. All that was left for me to do was identify the higher low that comes in after the sweep of the liquidity, which is this higher low right here. So to catch this trade, all I did was take my fib from the low that came in after the sweep of liquidity to the high where price started to pull back, and I waited for price to come into my 70 to 79% sweet spot discount that I personally like to pay attention to. You guys can see that the 70% retracement was hit to the absolute freaking pip. Then we see a shift in momentum, buyers still in control. Price respected the 66% retracement. That is where I entered in at. Stop loss was nice and tight. And then that was all she wrote. So anyways, we just had a bunch of new people come into the community, and a lot of them have been asking where to kind of find all the information out. It's sporadic, it's spread out all over the Discord, but nonetheless, I just try to show you guys in this breakdown how this Discord is probably, if not the most powerful Discord on the face of the internet in terms of retail trading, retail specific oriented trading, to show you guys that myself and Scalper talk about these things days in advance. We're very accurate. We're not here to like sell you guys some pipe dream or like tell you all that you guys are going to become some overnight success by like learning what we're teaching, like none of that. But if you put in the elbow grease and the work and you pay attention to the accurate information that we put out in this community step by step, and you go through the learning and the educational process that it does take, going through these PDFs, reading each of them, studying them, back testing them, using the information and applying it in the live market, I'm here to show you guys in real time that it works, right? It works. It's not a pipe dream. It's not make believe. It can be done. Anybody on the internet that tries to tell you it can't, or that you can't catch bottoms, or that you can't catch tops, or whatever the heck, it's all fugazi lie, and you need to not put yourself in the same shoes as them, because you can do it. You can do it 110% if you're tapped in and paying attention to the right information.